Hi, hi, hi. Look who's back. And she is purring to beat the band. Hi, baby girl. Hi. She does not always want to come film with me all the time, but she's here today. So, all right, we're going to hop back to part 2 of episode 2. Um, it is, the B-roll's interesting, so we'll hop to there. But hi, if you're new here, my name's Cozy. I like to talk about sister wives and related reality television shows here on YouTube. I do like to remind you these videos are for entertainment purposes only. These are not facts, they're just my opinions about public figures sharing their lives on television for us. So if we're cool, we're cool. All right, we're headed back to Flagstaff because Janelle is there, Christine's gonna go see her, and the B-roll is something. I love the cow. I'm here for the cow. But the weird, wrinkly, half-dead cactus, I could do without it. I don't know what it is. It creeps me out. It looks like if I touched it, it'd be squishy. Whoa. So Christine is going to go see her sister wife in Flagstaff because she has a lot of questions. She wants to know how seeing everything in Montana went and what's going on. Are you actually going to move with Maddie and Caleb, buy property somewhere? Are you going to build in Arizona? She's very worried about the situation with Cody, and she just wants to get a few answers because she's still asking, are they over? So when asked directly by Christine, are you building on Coyote Pass? Janelle admits, I love it here. I love it in Arizona. I love it in Flagstaff, but it certainly doesn't seem functional for me to spend the rest of my life here. And Christine asks us the right question. If the property still needs paid off, if nobody's paid it off in all of this time, who is actually serious about living there? Like, is anybody actually going to live there? Janelle says she's been thinking about asking Cody to buy her out of her part of the land. And she's like, it's really hard because I've had to realize that, this was sort of my dream and I'm kind of letting it go that way. And her dream has been to have just a small homestead. Janelle has always wanted a few animals, a garden, simple living, maybe a greenhouse, but Cody hates everything about it. He wants to be that big city guy with the fancy car, Janelle says. And yet he left Vegas, where that sort of flash might actually have mattered more. But Janelle thinks that growing up on the farm, Cody had his fill, and he did not want any more of that. And so for Janelle, she says the moment that made her change her mind was looking at that property with Maddie and realizing she could have her dream somewhere else. It doesn't have to be in Flagstaff. And Christine's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Don't live near Cody and Robin. Don't be their neighbors. Go move with Caleb and Maddie. And so Janelle drops, if Cody's unwilling to buy me out and unwilling to talk to me, I'm going to have to lawyer up. She really doesn't have any other options. She doesn't know what to do. And Christine agrees, yes, get a lawyer. Janelle knows she doesn't have any legal rights to make claim on Cody's other properties because of their marriage situation. Okay, but we know her name's on some of that land, and so she does have a legal claim to it. And she points out this isn't like calling a lawyer and being like, I want to divorce this person. The lack of a legal marriage makes everything so much more complicated. And Christine's like, I know it sucks to get a lawyer, and it'd be better if you and Cody could just work it out, but clearly you can't. So we're coming back from the couch interviews to Christine flat out asking, is your marriage with Cody over? And of course it is. So she says, does Cody know? And Janelle does not say yes. She says that they haven't spoken in a very long time, and now even business is done over text. They don't speak on the phone, they don't meet for conversations, nothing. And Christine's like, did you tell him the words, it's over? And Janelle's like, no, I don't see him. He avoids me. But we've seen in the trailer that Cody is eventually going to go and ask Janelle to kind of rekindle things. So I'm guessing she'll tell him it's over then. But Christine explains that in their church, there aren't legal marriages. Because yes, Cody and Robin are legally married, but that's a civil thing, not a religious matter. And Christine says that for her, there is a definite endpoint that she can look back on and say, nope, done, over, bye. And once again, she needed that, but I'm starting to suspect that Cody and Robin actually need that more than Janelle does. Christine says, why don't you have a conversation with him and tell him it's over? And Janelle just answered that they do not speak. He will not talk to her about the land. He will not talk to her at all. He puts her off. Christine's like, there are a lot of reasons you need to make that call. And Janelle's obviously put off by this. And I get her point that she feels like Christine wants everybody's breakup to look like hers did. And she's annoyed with the way that she pushes. She sees it from this lens of Christine just trying to get her to have that carbon copy breakup and grilling her on her specifics. But as an outsider, I can see it actually from a couple of points of view. Yes, Christine wants Janelle to have a specific endpoint, but I think also she knows Cody and she has seen how Robin has just held on to Meri with that grip. And it's my opinion that what she wants is Janelle to make it clear so that Cody and Robin both get it and back off. For all we know, and this is entirely speculation, it is just me making up a theory, behind the scenes, McKelty could have said something to her mom about how Robin had said that Cody and Janelle were going to work things out. And maybe Christine doesn't want to say that on camera and kind of skirts around it in a way, and it makes Janelle uncomfortable and unhappy. Janelle does point out that her relationship was different and it has come apart in a very different way. And this is fair too. Like, it's very valid for her to say that. She says she told Cody and he knows that she does not want him to be a part of her new life. She says there's no official divorce because they were never legally married. So as soon as Coyote Pass is all settled and handled, she's out of there and she doesn't think that they'll ever interact again. Cody says that he was always asking Janelle about their relationship. And they were not in agreement. They were not in the same place. But they're not working on the relationship either. There was never anything cut and dried. It just sort of faded off into the distance. And this was the exact moment I paused it and said, oh, you mean like what you did to Meri? And then unpaused it to Meri laughing hysterically like, oh, you mean what you did to me? She's like, he's always complaining there was no communication and it was completely unclear. Which is exactly what you did to me. And then she whispers and says, karma's a bee. Janelle looks to Christine and goes, it's over. We're never going to be a married couple again. There is nobody else. And I still believe in the faith. So in my looking, and I could be wrong, and it's okay if I am, I don't know anybody in the AUB. I'm just going off of what I can Google. But it looks like in the AUB, a wife really needs the husband in order to ascend to the highest levels of heaven. Because he's supposed to call her through the veil and bring her to him. And the kids would also be bound eternally to Cody in that system. So it makes sense that Janelle would not want to completely sever ties if she honestly thought that she was going to lose access to her kids for all eternity. You know, I come from the Protestant viewpoint, where I know I will spend eternity with other believers, and earthly ties may not exist in heaven, but I'm going to still be with my loved ones in some capacity regardless. And I'm not dogging on her belief system at all. Don't think that I'm saying like, oh, she's so stupid or anything like that. But I certainly would not want to spend eternity with a man who didn't want to give me any time on earth. And I give her credit for not losing her faith, because a lot of people would have, and it seems like a lot of people did in this. But Janelle points out that Christine no longer believes in the faith. And so no longer believes that her marriage vows have any validity. But because Janelle does still believe, it lends credence to her vows. And so even if they're no longer together physically, she still has this eternal marriage to hold on to. And I actually am now thinking Janelle was probably the strongest believer of the whole bunch of them, whether it was traditional LDS or the more fundamentalist version. She seems to have a much stronger belief. And Cody's like, we're all in a different place with our faith, and he does not want to disparage his former faith. Important, former. But he's not interested in their BS. So Cody no longer believes in their religion. It would explain why he seemed okay with violating parts of it, because he obviously believes in something, but apparently it's not this anymore. Christine's like, if things were different, would you go back to Cody? And Janelle says, no, there's been some progression there. Yes, I told you last summer that I would consider going back to him. Now, no path back. There's nothing there. Janelle doesn't want to do the work to make a path back, and she really is pretty sure Cody doesn't either. So to her perception, he just wants her to conform to him, to conform to patriarchy. And they show that clip at when Christine was leaving where he says to everybody, well, if you're all willing to conform to patriarchy again. And Janelle's like, whoa, no. There was never a discussion in our marriage contract about obedience and patriarchy like he's asking for now. Never a discussion. He never asked it of me. I would never have agreed to it. And she says probably wouldn't have married him if that's who she thought he was. Cody tries to clarify the patriarchy thing was set out of an abundance of hurt. He's never done it. He's never intended to. He was grieving and in pain. He didn't know what he'd done wrong with Christine, apparently. I feel like she told him, but all right. She says that his desire for conformity, coupled with the excitement of where she's headed, is why she's no longer interested in ever going back. Also, funny story, since Janelle's talking about this, My uncle performed our wedding ceremony, and when we were discussing our vows, we said, we just want traditional ones. We don't want to write our own, none of that. He looks me dead in the eye and says to me, I'm just going to go with love and honor because we know you're not going to obey. I mean, okay, I didn't argue. I'm stubborn. I am fully aware. But I guess, Janelle, I didn't agree to obedience either. So we jump back over with Cody, and he is self-filming on his porch. And he shares 8 weeks ago, Meri told him she was headed to Utah to go talk to the church leaders to ask for a divorce, or what they call a release. And Meri's explaining that all 4 of them married Cody inside their church, and they consider that a covenant. But she feels it's best to terminate it, because they're not moving forward in a marriage, they're not happy with each other, and she doesn't want to be sealed to someone who hates her for all eternity. She says that when she asked him about the release, he was very resistant to it. He didn't want to give authority to the church leaders, aka, please don't go tell people in Utah, this will be embarrassing for me. And so he says the damage was done. They're going to be accountable to God. Why do they need to be accountable to this church and their BS? A second time that he said it. So he says, I'll let Meri go and do her thing, because if I'm angry at her, it'll start a fight. Why does that matter? And he's like, I just needed her to go away, because it took forever for her to finally realize it's been done and over for years. So you just wanted her to go away. You just wanted the numbers, just in case you're not sure you're done believing. Meri points out that she's been in limbo for a decade, but she's done and she's moving forward with this. Cody, for his part, keeps coming back and saying, well, we lacked a lot of wisdom in our marriage. Sure, I bet you did. I got married pretty quickly. We met and got married a year later. And so, yeah, there were a lot of things that neither of us knew either. But for 7 years, we've at least tried to learn and grow together instead of trying to do everything against each other. And Cody's like, Meri must have had baggage I didn't know about, and I thought I could live with it. Baggage? Baggage like your self-proclaimed daddy issues? I'm not sure. He used this example of, here, baby, you want a piece of gum? You know I don't like spearmint. And I get it. That's not a great reaction, if that was actually her reaction. I mean, for 6 years, I drank iced caramel coffees from Dunkin'. I don't even like iced caramel coffees. They're too sweet for me. But I didn't want to hurt my husband's feelings when he came home and tried to surprise me with something that he thought I would enjoy. Finally, after 6 years, I broke and said, hey, that's your Dunkin' order. I don't really like that. Can I please have vanilla or pumpkin spice? And sure, every so often I have to remind him, hey, I'm not really a caramel person. It's not that big a deal. We don't need to snap about it. And you know what? This morning, he got me an iced pumpkin chai. So all sins are forgiven, because that is the best. I love an iced pumpkin chai. Cody continues saying he cannot live in a world where Meri is constantly angry at him. Well, you still do. And he said as time goes on, it got worse and worse and worse. And he explains that Janelle came in and diluted the experience with Meri, except that he says diluted, not diluted, which is definitely a regional accent thing, but also still really, really funny. It's really funny, the idea that Janelle came in and made Meri delusional. I love it. The anger and dysfunction, though, began to manifest between Janelle and Meri. And maybe that had something to do with the fact that you were courting her sister-in-law behind her back. Just saying. So Christine had to come in and then dilute or delude. And he says that honestly, that probably saved it. I don't know if he means the whole marriage or just Janelle and Meri. But he insists he has no choice in the matter because men have no choice in polygamy. If he wishes to remain faithful and in the faith, which apparently he doesn't, so I don't know why this matters, he has to stay. It is not allowed for him to leave. He was not able to get out, and he says he didn't necessarily want to. He wanted to see if they could save it, if they could fix it. And he claims there were several times that he was in with her on the idea of a new beginning. Let's try to save this. And he says, you know, when I was with her, she wasn't fun. She wasn't kind. She wasn't nice. She wasn't interesting. He was bored. He was bored. Now, we've seen Meri have fun, be adventurous. I mean, the skiing, the sledding into the side of the house. Meri has done things that are adventurous, that are fun. If you're bored, Cody, that might be a you problem. Do you ever consider maybe you are the boring one? But he says, to be fair, Meri feels abandoned, but he didn't kick him out. Yes, you did, essentially. He claims everyone but Robin kicked him out, but we have watched season after season of Cody essentially kick himself out of these homes until they finally pack his stuff up and actually do it. And so He says, I'm not playing the victim card. It's just how it is. But of course, my husband was like, dude, yes, you are. Take some accountability. Not everything is Meri's fault 100% of the time. And he's right. It isn't. Cody says, I wasn't going to leave them, no matter how much I didn't love them. Okay, but you just spent season after season after season trying to convince us that you loved all of them. So which Cody is the liar, old Cody or this Cody? And how do you not see that by calling yourself a liar then or calling yourself a liar now, you've become the most unreliable narrator on reality television? He's like, they made choices that separated us. And maybe I did too, but, because no accountability, and there's always a but. He says they eventually moved on. And of course, now it's time to sing Robin's praises because Robin is the most loyal person to everyone, everywhere, all of the time. That's how it is. This was the gift she brought to the family. Loyalty. Except Meri was definitely the one that got the loyalty necklace, and you called her a dog and said that she was the most loyal. Okay, that's fine. But now your loyalty is with Robin. Okay, in the end, he says it's not about blame, it's about choice. He says they chose the road that they've been on, and it's the life they chose. Also, it looks like he's working on cars in Christine's front yard during this voiceover. Christine doesn't live there anymore, so I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if she was still there at the time or not. He says when they chose well, they were a happy family, and when they chose badly, they weren't. But everyone's on a journey, and he just hopes they all end up happy. So the questions here then is, it's so odd that he would be so against dissolving a union from a faith he claims to no longer believe in. So does he not believe? Because Robin wants plural marriage, does he not want the church leaders to see him as unfit in case they want to take a wife later? Does he not want people in Utah to find out about his behind-the-scenes shenanigans the show doesn't air? Does Meri's release invalidate based off of her previous statements about if she had left, then Christine and Janelle's vows wouldn't count? And then he can't pretend he has enough wives to qualify for the celestial kingdom. Are those the problems? But back with Janelle and Christine. Christine asks if Janelle's doing Thanksgiving at Logan's new house, and Janelle is positively beaming about her son. She says Hunter's in Vegas now too, and she shares the plan and all of her kids will be there except for Maddie and Caleb. And Christine's very curious to know, does Cody know that you and the kids are leaving? And she's like, we do not speak. I am trying to make this very clear. We do not speak. I'm not tracking Cody for the holidays, and he's surely not tracking me and the kids. His focus is on what's happening at Robin's house. Christine says, do you think he's trying to string you along? And Janelle points out that the land is tying her here, and she needs to just conclude that. And on the couch, Janelle says she thinks that Christine wants her to use the word divorced, but she doesn't feel the need to. Janelle has been through a legal divorce, and she doesn't like the word or the idea. She simply says she's no longer with the father of her children, and leaves it at that. Cody says that Janelle is trying not to define it, so she doesn't have to go cap in hand back to the church leaders. He thinks that she wants to just sweep it under the rug and pretend nothing is going on. Janelle's just hoping that Cody will have a connection with his kids. She's fine if they never do, because there are a lot of ex-spouses that do not just go hang out with each other. And Christine's like, honestly, I really hoped we would get to the point where we could. Janelle mentions the first big family event's coming up, and it'll be the first time they're all together since Isabel's graduation party. And Christine's like, there are a lot of hurt feelings with Cody and Robin and their kids, but they're all going to be there. Everybody's supposed to be there. And Janelle says the word of the day is awkward in the weirdest Sesame Street episode ever. They start to discuss the text thread and how far back does all of this go. And Robin tries to come back to defend her kids, saying, well, they were just putting down boundaries. This was never, we never want to see you again. It was just, this is yucky. Okay. From what we've heard, Robin put down the boundary, and she may have been the one to make it yucky, depending on the source you're listening to. Christine reflects that Robin's kids said they never felt welcome to the family, but she felt like she was trying her best. And then we get Aurora and Brianna to give their side of the story. And I personally think it feels very just disingenuous. And maybe I'm a jerk, because Aurora shares that multiple people told her that she wasn't their sister. But the problem with that was she fed us an entirely different story about Gabe being so accepting of her just last season. And I remember thinking Brianna seemed very uncomfortable staring at her, almost like Aurora was going off book or something. And now we get this. And Brianna thinks that the parents could have done a much better job of integrating everyone and connecting them as a family. And maybe that's true. Maybe they could have. So we're shown clip after clip after clip of all of the kids hanging out, being together. And Christine's like, Robin's kids were invited to everything. And I recall them having to ask permission to spend time with Robin's children while Cody and Robin were on their honeymoon. And so she points out Isabel's really close with Robin's kids. McKelty even lived with them for a while. She does say there were hard times and her kids got frustrated, but they always considered Robin's kids siblings. Truly didn't even know that Robin's oldest three were not her biological siblings. And why would she? Cody counters that there are people in his family that feel superior to others, and I would counter that that is him, Robin, and their kids. Go off. He says that they're like, oh, we're not going to have them in our club. The club of people who felt second class in their own family, Cody. Cody's like, I'm going to move forward to find happiness and joy outside of my club, because that's what it was. It was my club and I got kicked out of it. Okay. It's a very selfish way of looking at it, really. You don't own this family. You're either a part of it or you make yourself not a part of it. And that's what happened. You made yourself not a part of what everyone else was doing. Janelle tells Christine she's really happy and she's glad she doesn't have to adjust her schedule anymore. She felt like she lived two different lives on two different schedules. One where she could go to bed when she wanted and she didn't have to follow crazy food rules. And offhandedly, she's like, Cody's allergic to everything or whatever, I don't know. And that feels a lot more like Cody's following a lot of fad dieting and odd food restrictions. I remember he was kosher at one point. And she says that when he would come every third day, it was an altered universe. And she was willing to do it, but it's liberating now not needing to. Robin's like, life felt normal whether he was there or wasn't. And it was a situation where you're a plural wife, you have to be more independent. You have to handle kids more on your own. And I thought it was kind of interesting that the clip we get of Robin handling her kids on her own without Cody goes all the way back to before she even moved to Lehigh. We had to go all the way back to when she lived 5 hours away to get that. Got it. It starts to make you realize just how little Robin allows herself and her children to be filmed throughout the years outside of just family gatherings. Meri says she can't remember life with Cody at her house, so she doesn't know. It was the norm for him to never be around. And Christine agrees with Janelle. Isn't it the saddest thing? I would be scrambling all the time just to fit him into my life. Janelle says she didn't really mind, and she'd go and do plural marriage again just for the independence. She says that when it's functioning correctly, you have this amazing family unit, you have this community you're already plugged into. She says you have a husband and a great relationship with him, and all of your independence. And she's at peace, and she's okay where she's at now. Even if this isn't what she envisioned. She can see the life she had in the past, but it's not relevant now, and it's weird to be separate from that life. Christine shares Janelle has some serious ties to the land, to her commitment to God, and she didn't understand that before, but now she understands where Janelle's coming from. So I'm glad that they're kind of getting onto the same page, because I would hate to see those two get constantly annoyed with each other, with one not understanding the position of the other, especially when it's such a simple position, and once you've explained it, there's really nothing to be that annoyed about. So, next week, I watched the preview for next week. And I have mentioned before that I had a pretty traumatic C-section with my twins. So watching just the preview gave me some definite anxiety. I'm almost tempted to have my husband watch the episode first and tell me whether or not I can handle it, which sounds really stupid. I understand, and I understand there's going to be people who are going to be like, grow up. I get that. That's fine. But it's really hard to watch for whatever reason. Leave it at that. So I don't know how delayed the next episode's videos will be, just simply for that reason. But I'm going to try and get them done. I'm going to try and watch it. And if I can't watch it, I'll have my husband watch it and he can give me all the details. So until then, I will see you guys later. Bye.